Lagos Talks
91.3.
News.
Nigeria's government has signed an agreement with U.S. technology giant Microsoft to train 5 million people in digital economy. Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, Issa Pantami, who described the initiative as amazing, said the agreement, which would run for 5 years, would boost job creation and economic development. The deal was signed on the sidelines of an IT exhibition in Dubai, with a Microsoft representative saying the company was willing to work with the Nigerian government to provide economic opportunities for young people. Professor Pantami also said that Nigeria would continue to provide an enabling environment for Microsoft and other companies to operate in the country by ensuring that regulatory measures were developmental and flexible. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, has suspended its 8-month-old industrial action. Although the union is yet to make an official announcement to the public, a few of the members of the union's National Executive Committee, who attended a meeting of its leadership that started on Thursday night and lasted into the early hours of today, Friday, affirmed the decision to suspend the strike. The Court of Appeal had ordered ASU to suspend the strike before its appeal of the ruling ordering lecturers to resume work can be heard. Members of the union's National Executive Committee, which comprises the chairman of the state chapters and members of the National Executive, attended the meeting at the ASU National Secretariat in Abuja. The Senior Staff Association of Universities, Teaching Hospitals, Research Institutes and Associated Institutions has issued a 7-day ultimatum to the federal government to pay arrears of hazard allowances owed its members. The association disclosed this in a communique signed by its acting chairman, Mr. Kabir Mustafa, and acting secretary, Mr. Joseph Ugoke, after a 2-day meeting in Calabar between October 12 and 13. On the COVID-19 special inducement allowance, the association urged the federal government to pay the balance of 40% being 2 months owed its members. The association also used the opportunity to call on the federal government to, as a matter of urgency, implement the September 30, 2017 agreement on adjusting the consolidated health salary structure. The appeal court sitting in Abuja has discharged the embattled leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. The court also ruled that his extradition had been illegal as the 15-count charge preferred against him did not disclose the place, date, time, and nature of the alleged offences before being unlawfully extradited to Nigeria in clear violation of international treaties. Kanu is being prosecuted by the federal government at the Federal High Court in Abuja for 15-count charges bordering on treasonable felony, terrorism, and offences he allegedly committed in the course of his separatist campaigns. A 3-man panel of the Court of Appeal, however, said the Federal High Court lacks the jurisdiction to try him in view of his abduction and extraordinary rendition to Nigeria in flagrant violation of the African Union Convention and Protocol on Extradition. The court also noted that the act of abduction and extraordinary rendition of Kanu from Kenya without due process is a violation of his right. Meanwhile, in reaction to the appeal court's decision on Thursday, Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami said the decision of the court only discharged Kanu and did not acquit him. In a statement signed by spokesperson Dr. Umar Jibril Gwandu, Mr. Malami said the federal government will explore all available options left to it and will communicate the same to the public accordingly. Governor Samuel Ortom of Benue State has issued a 1-month ultimatum to the federal government to give the Benue State Community Volunteer Guards a license to bear AK-47 rifles. The governor said yesterday that he applied for a license for the state-owned security outfit to bear the rifles 3 months ago, but the federal government has not given him any response. He added that his people will make a categorical decision on the matter in the next month if the federal government continues its refusal. Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike says his effort for an amicable resolution of the crisis rocking the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, has been frustrated by rent seekers in the party. The governor insisted that nobody can convince him to change his stance that the PDP should yield its national chairmanship position to the southern part of Nigeria. Meanwhile, the PDP on Thursday insisted that it has not suspended its presidential campaign. Its Director General of the Presidential Campaign Organization, Aminu Waziri Tambuwal, in a statement, dismissed the rumors that the party had shelved its campaign at the instance of its presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar to pacify some aggrieved governors in the party. Tambuwal, however, assured that the campaign team will replicate the kind of scenario it had in Uyo Akwa Ibom State, and where thousands of party supporters turned up for the kickoff of its presidential rally. The Labour Party says it is set to release a supplementary list for its campaign council. The party's national chairman, Julius Abure, made this known in a communique he read at the end of the expanded National Working Committee meeting in Abuja. According to Abure, the presidents of NLC and TUC, Ayuba Waba and Festus Osifo, were removed from the campaign council because they were erroneously included. He assured that the supplementary list will be released before the inauguration of the council. The Osun State Governorship Election Petitions Tribunal has fixed October 26 for hearing of the petition filed by Governor Adegboyega Oyetola of the All Progressives Congress, the APC, against the declaration of Senator Ademola Adeleke of the PDP as the governor-elect. The chairman of the tribunal, Justice Tetsi Kume, fixed the date after the conclusion of the pre-hearing session on Thursday in Osogbo. Kume also announced that the pre-hearing conference reports would be presented on October 17, while proper hearing would begin on October 26. Lagos State Governor Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu has kicked off his campaign at the 9th Engbeti Summit, saying he is the best among the governorship candidates in the state based on his administration's track records in the last 3.5 years, in line with the theme's developmental agenda. Correspondent Godfrey Gabriel reports that the governor described some of those contesting against him in the March 11, 2023 governorship election as noisemakers, noting that when it's time, men would be separated from toddlers. Governor Sanwo-Olu spoke at the closing ceremony of the 9th Engbeti Summit held at the Eko Hotels and Suites, Victoria Island, Lagos.
Today, coincidentally, is also the day that INEC started the campaign for the governorship and House of Assembly election. I'm sure none of you remember, but I do, and I know the importance of it. For me, there cannot be any better campaign. There cannot be any better conversation.
You're still listening to the World News. Moving on to the foreign scene, Kenya's government has denied media reports that it has failed to meet its debt repayment obligations to China over the construction of a multi-billion-dollar railway line from the capital Nairobi to the coastal city of Mombasa. Report says China had imposed a $10 million penalty after Kenya defaulted on repaying a $4.5 billion loan for building the 472 kilometers line, Kenya's biggest infrastructure project since independence. Kenya's Director General of Public Debt Management, Harun Sirima, dismissed the report as ridiculous. He added that the government has not run up any arrears. Turkey's parliament has approved a tough new media law that could see reporters and social media users jailed for up to 3 years for spreading fake news. The new rules confirms the government's tight grip on the media 8 months before presidential elections. The approved law imposes a criminal penalty for those found guilty of spreading false or misleading information. It also requires social networks and internet sites to hand over personal details of users suspected of propagating misleading information. And now to business news. Policymakers around the world have been urged to urgently act now and act together to minimize the risk of policy missteps. The call was made in Washington, D.C. on Thursday by the Managing Director of the IMF, Kristalina Georgieva, while speaking on the global policy agenda. She had noted that the world economy has been hit by one crisis after another, like COVID, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and climate disasters on every continent, threatening a risk of a recession in the wake of rising prices. Insisting that a lot more can still be done, she listed efforts to be considered to include bringing down inflation, putting in place responsible fiscal policy and safeguarding financial stability.
Appealing to policymakers to act with a sense of urgency now and also to act together. First, bring inflation down. For central banks, this means taking decisive action when it is necessary. Second, act now to put in place responsible fiscal policy. We must prioritize protecting the vulnerable households, the vulnerable businesses that are so important for the economy to function. And third, we need to act now to safeguard financial stability, particularly as we see rising financial sector risks.
The IMF chief had also restated that debt would remain a focus for the week during the ongoing annual meetings of the IMF World Bank.
It is tough for everybody, but it is even tougher for countries that are now being hit by stronger dollar, high borrowing costs, capital outflows, a triple blow that is particularly heavy for countries that are under high level of debt. So zeroing in on that, and this is already happening this week.
The president of the World Bank, David Malpass, has said that the bank will work with the International Monetary Fund to assess Nigeria's debt sustainability. Meanwhile, on Thursday, during a session debate on global economy, moderated by Richard Quest, Nigeria's Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, had clarified reports that her ministry was seeking a restructuring of Nigeria's loan repayment.
And also because inflation is going up and is going to stay up for longer, our debt service obligations in foreign currency are increasing. And what we decided to do is not to wait for it to happen. We have to start looking at how do we better manage our liabilities. So we are not restructuring our loans, but we're looking at options of how we can stretch out, including buying back some of our bonds when the market allows us to do that.
With respect, Minister, isn't that just playing with language? If you're doing all those things with existing loans, you are de facto restructuring.
But we're doing it ourselves, and we're doing it to give us more fiscal room.
And now to the exciting world of sports. The head coach of Nigeria under-17 women's national team, Bankole Olowokere, has assured Nigerians that the Flamingoes will qualify for the next round of the under-17 Women's World Cup in India, despite their opening 2-1 defeat to Germany. The Flamingoes are built to clash with New Zealand in a must-win battle at the Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium on Friday to guarantee their chances of advancing from Group B. Olowokere attributed the team's loss to Germany to lack of concentration, saying the girls had learnt their lessons and are ready to take on New Zealand. In the meantime, the Super Falcons of Nigeria climbed one position in the latest FIFA Coca-Cola Women's World Ranking. The Federation of International Football Association, FIFA, released the latest ranking on Thursday, which shows a record 187 national teams are now included in the ranking. The Super Falcons moved one position from 46 to 45th in the world, but maintained top position in Africa, ahead of Banyana of South Africa, Indomitable Lioness of Cameroon, Black Queen of Ghana, and Elephants of Cote d'Ivoire. The USA remained atop the FIFA Coca-Cola Women's World Ranking.
Lagos Talks
91.3.